for healthcare workers.
All news, all the time. This is 1010 Win.
The tri-state governors say travelers visiting the area from certain states will have to quarantine.
Governors Cuomo, Murphy, and Lamont say anyone coming from states with high infection rates are being ordered to self-quarantine for 2 weeks.
We also have to make sure the virus doesn't come in on a plane again. Learn that lesson, been there, done that.
Cuomo says this is not symbolic. If volunteer quarantine doesn't work, it can be made mandatory with fines. Murphy says it's not a big ask.
To say to folks, listen, it's time for personal responsibility. If you've been in a state that has a high infection rate, do the right thing.
You know, if you come to Connecticut, you come to New York, you come to New Jersey, you come safely, and you follow the protocols, starting with a quarantine.
Governor Lamont adds they still welcome visitors, but they must come safely. Al Jones, 1010 Wins News.
Tonight, authorities are riding around looking for fireworks displays, not to enjoy them, but to hand out citation to people who supply them. A crackdown announced on those who provide illegal fireworks to neighborhood pyrotechs who are driving people in the boroughs crazy. Mayor de Blasio.
The sheriff's office, the FDNY, the NYPD have come together in an illegal fireworks task force. We will have over 40 officers from each of those three organizations, including 12 FDNY fire marshals. The NYPD Intelligence Bureau will be a part of this effort to help us track down where the fireworks are coming from to begin with.
The 911 folks and the 311 operators are getting a workout. 13,000 calls into 911, 4,500 into 311. This is since January, but they're saying almost all of those calls happened this month. The mayor had some fireworks at his house, meantime, at Gracie Mansion here recently. Hundreds of protesters showed up last night, I should say, demanding that he do something about it. Some of them reportedly even firing off a round of fireworks themselves, suggesting, well, if we can't sleep, you can't sleep either. To that end, His Honor telling people hold off until July 4th and we'll give you a show. That's when the Macy's fireworks show will take to the sky. In fact, it will be different this year, though, and spread over the course of 3 nights over 5 boroughs. And so people won't be so inclined to, break social distancing rules all gathering at once in one location.
The idea is very brief bursts, brief but mighty. And this is not like what you see with the illegal fireworks. You'll know this is a very professional, beautiful show. People will get a moment to experience it, feel good about it, and then it'll all be pulled together on Saturday, July 4th in a show. It'll be live on NBC with the different pieces of each night together on tape, but also music.
Yeah, the 3-night event starts June 29th. We'll have more details as they become available. Let's talk about the primaries now. Hope you...
11:55, promising economic news on new home sales.
New home sales in May rose a surprisingly strong 16.6%, with the reopening of major parts of the country potentially fueling activity in the housing market. That was a much better performance than expected. Many economists had forecast that sales would fall in May. The new home sales numbers from the Commerce Department come just one day after the U.S. reported a 9.7% plunge of sales of existing homes in May. There are hopes that the housing slump that occurred with the virus shutdowns could be coming to an end, although the millions of jobs lost to the pandemic could slow down any rebound. Shelley Adler, Washington.
A large pit has been discovered near one of the most famous sites in the UK.
Adding to the mystery, scientists have discovered a ring of large shafts a few miles from Stonehenge, which could be almost 5,000 years old. Archaeologists say they form the largest prehistoric monument ever discovered in Britain. Experts say they believe those shafts may have served as a border to a sacred area and could mark a new chapter in the story of Stonehenge.
Correspondent Michelle Franzen. Wins News Time 11:432.
With Confederate symbols again becoming a national flashpoint amid racial unrest, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says it's time to remove them from the U.S. Capitol building and military posts.
From statues of Jefferson Davis and others in the Capitol to army posts named after Confederate generals like Bragg and Hood.
The American people know these names have to go.
Pelosi doesn't have the power to remove the statues, but is urging the panel that does to do so. As for the base names, President Trump says he will not rename them. But Senate Republicans have broken with him, with a panel approving a plan to have Confederate names removed from Pentagon assets within 3 years. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
Closer to home, Wins News Time, 4:38, 1010 Wins Entertainment.
What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Stand a little taller.
Kelly Clarkson has filed for divorce. Clarkson's been married to Brandon Blackstock for almost 7 years now. They have 2 kids together, 5-year-old River Rose and 4-year-old Remington Alexander. Clarkson is requesting joint legal and physical custody of the kids. The family spent the coronavirus outbreak at her Montana ranch. The divorce filing is dated June 4th. Very popular country band changing its name.
Hillary Scott, Charles Kelly, and Dave Haywood of Lady Antebellum say protests over the killing of George Floyd by police in Minneapolis have shown them blind spots they did not know existed. The band members, who are white, say after prayer and honest conversations with colleagues and friends, including African-American ones, they've decided to just go by Lady A, the nickname fans gave them from the start. While they say they named the band after the antebellum-style home where they first took band photos, they regret that they failed to consider that antebellum also refers to the time before the Civil War, which includes slavery. I'm Margie Zaraletta.
If the 12th of June is your birthday, here's some of the names and entertainment you share it with. Kicking it off with blues guitarist Kenny Wayne Shepherd, he's 43. Timothy Simons played Jonah Ryan on Veep. He's 42. Singer Robin's 41. John Gurley of Portugal, the man, is 39. Country singer Chris Young, 35 today. From Gallivant, Luke Youngblood's 34. Atlanta rhythm section guitarist Barry Bailey, 72. Bunny Carlos of Cheap Trick, 69. 424, grim warning about coronavirus from the director of Harvard's Global Health Institute. Correspondent Kaylee Hartung reports Dr. Ashish Shah says without action, a lot more people are going to get sick.
A dire prediction. The coronavirus could kill 200,000 Americans by September. The U.S. already topping 113,000 deaths.
We opened up when the case levels were still quite high. We did not have enough testing in most states, so we're now seeing the consequences of that.
As the country continues to reopen, a top Harvard health official warning, without drastic action, more people will die.
City Controller Scott Stringer subpoenaed City Hall for all records related to the pandemic response. Stringer says the de Blasio administration has not provided the documents he requested regarding the public emergency, so he may have to take the mayor to court. The Controller requested the documents on May 14th. City Hall calls it a political stunt on behalf of Stringer, who is planning to run to replace the term-limited de Blasio. The city's First Lady, Shirlane McCrae, didn't directly answer a question about her political ambitions Thursday.
I don't know what the future holds for me. I'm not someone who thrives in the limelight. I don't need the attention of being in front of the cameras. In fact, it's very difficult for me. I do what I do because I care about people.
There's been speculation she may run for Brooklyn Borough President. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff says he wants nothing to do with party politics. The Pentagon's top uniformed leader saying he should not have taken part in the much-debated presidential walk to a damaged church near the White House.
The chairman of the Joint Chiefs pre-recorded a commencement address to the graduates of the National Defense University in a virtual ceremony. General Mark Milley expressed regrets taking part in President Trump's walkover from the White House to Lafayette Park and St. John's Episcopal Church after protesters had been cleared from the area on June 1st.
I should not have been there. My presence in that moment and in that environment created a perception of the military involved in domestic politics. As a commissioned uniformed officer, it was a mistake.
Milley was in uniform as he walked over with the president and others to inspect damage done the night before by vandalizing protesters. President Trump held up a Bible outside St. John's Church at the end. Bob Costantini, Washington.
New York City, reopen, restart, rebuild in its entirety. Takes about an hour. 1010wins.com. We are not yet in phase 2 in the 5 boroughs. That's the phase that would allow outdoor dining. But some restaurants are still doing it, one way or the other.
Whether it's bar tables on the sidewalk or full-on tables and chairs for dining on the street, 2 East Village restaurants were clearly skirting the regulations, and while the owners would not go on record about it, they did say they were adhering to social distancing. Monique was picking up to-go food at one of the places.
I think a lot of people, all of us, have been skirting the law the entire time that we've been in quarantine. So, I understand because they have to make a living.
And she says it is what it is.
New Yorkers will try to figure out the loophole.
For healthcare workers.
All news, all the time. This is 1010 Wins.